Incredible encounter. Millionaire dad discovers a hidden gem on Christmas Eve. Her touching words ignite a flame of compassion. The streets shimmered under the blanket of fresh snow, each flake reflecting the twinkling lights of the lavish homes lining Jacob Mitchell's route. As he drove his sleek black SUV, anticipation bubbled inside him like eggnog on a Christmas morning. The annual holiday party promised extravagance, the kind that made headlines, with gourmet catering, a performance by a famous singer, and an unmistakable aura of wealth. But as he navigated the frosty streets of his childhood Midwestern town, nostalgia wrapped around his heart like a tight cocoon. Something felt off. The laughter he hoped to relish at the party felt suffocated under layers of commercial glitz. Memories of simpler times flooded his mind, years spent helping in the family store, sharing candy canes with friends, and building snowmen in front yards. It was a world rich in connection that felt galaxies away from the high-rise offices and country club banquets he occupied now. With an inexplicable pull, Jacob turned the vehicle into the parking lot of a local community center, a place he once frequented and cherished. Inside, the atmosphere was warm and inviting, with the hum of cheerful chatter and vibrant decorations. As he walked in, a voice cut through the noise, sharp, bright, and filled with hope. "Did you know that when I grow up, I want to be a scientist?" A 10-year-old girl named Charlie stood before him, her eyes sparkling more than the baubles hanging from the ceiling. Her heart radiated pure optimism as she spoke of her dreams, a beacon of light amidst the shadows of hardship. Her family struggled to make ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck, yet here she was bursting with joy and ambition. Jacob felt a pang in his chest, like a long-forgotten ember beginning to glow. Charlie shared stories of what she'd do as a scientist: help the environment, cure diseases, make the world a better place. Each word melted away the frost that had frozen his heart in the hustle and bustle of success. "Kindness makes a difference," she told him with all the certainty of a child untouched by cynicism. Jacob's throat tightened as Charlie reminded him of the spirit he had cherished yet lost. Before he knew it, an idea sparked in his mind. He would donate gifts and funds to support families like Charlie's, improve their Christmas morning. Surely, joy would spring forth amidst the hardship. Excitement bubbled within him, only to dash against the rocks of harsh criticism from both sides. His affluent peers scoffed at his intentions, labeling him out of touch. The community of families he aimed to uplift eyed his effort with skepticism, mistrust lingering like an unwanted guest. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Yet, in Charlie's laughter and hopefulness, Jacob began to see a new vision of his future, a chance to connect and build bridges rather than walls. A rush of emotions coursed through him. He was torn between the two worlds that pulled at him. But amidst the confusing whirlwind of privilege and duty, Charlie's spirit lit the way toward the true meaning of Christmas. As they shared laughter and dreams, their bond grew stronger, two souls finding comfort in the warmth of genuine connection. Yet, the mounting tension of his decision loomed, whipping through Jacob's thoughts like a winter gale. Would he find the courage to redefine his purpose before circumstances swept him away? The question lingered in the air, promising a shift he could no longer ignore. Jacob stepped out of the community center, a mix of emotions swirling in his chest. Charlie's bright smile lingered in his mind, a beam of light guiding him through the night. He glanced back at the cheerful decorations that adorned the center, the laughter of children filling the air like festive music. In that moment, the weight of his upcoming charity donations felt heavier than the snowflakes drifting around him. As he drove home, his phone buzzed with notifications, messages from colleagues asking if he was ready for the party. "People are counting on you," one text read. The pressure washed over him. But Charlie's words echoed louder, drowning out the noise of expectation. He could see her again, her eyes sparkling with possibility. Arriving at his mansion, Jacob hesitated at the door. The party's ornate decorations looked far too extravagant against the backdrop of the community center's warmth. He stepped inside to a swirl of laughter and chatter. A live band played in the corner, and waiters floated by with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Yet, as Jacob forced a smile and accepted congratulations, the room felt suffocating. A group of wealthy acquaintances approached, their laughter ringing hollow. They chatted about their luxurious vacations, high-end gifts, and lavish dinners. Jacob's heart sank. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were existing in a bubble, disconnected from the genuine joy he had just experienced. "What's wrong, Jacob? You look like you've seen a ghost," one friend grinned, sipping champagne. Jacob had always been the life of the party, the jovial host. But tonight, he felt like an imposter caught between two worlds. The words tangled in his throat. Should he keep pretending? Or risk showing them the side of him that tinged with fire and purpose? The night wore on, and he excused himself, restless. He wandered to the grand balcony overlooking the beautifully lit city. The cold air stung his cheeks, a sharp contrast to the warmth still echoing in his heart from Charlie's words. Deep down, he yearned for more than just a lavish life. He wanted to invest in something real, something that mattered. But how could he reach out beyond the glittering surface? As he leaned against the railing, his phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from Charlie's mother, thanking him for offering help. A simple act, yet it wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. He realized it wasn't just about the financial contributions. It was about the connection that followed, being present in those lives, sharing their stories, and uplifting them in a way that many had overlooked. With a new sense of clarity, Jacob made a decision. He wouldn't allow the opinions of others to deter him from pursuing this change. Tomorrow, he would return to the community center. He would offer not only resources but also his time, his voice, and perhaps even a new friendship with Charlie. The night wore on, the party fading into the background of his thoughts. As Jacob turned to head back inside, a flicker of excitement ignited in his chest. He could feel a transformation bubbling up, a story waiting to unfold. But would the community embrace him? Would he learn to bridge the gap between his world and theirs? Tomorrow would reveal the truth. The morning dawned crisp and clear, sunlight pouring through the tall windows of Jacob's mansion. He felt different. Nervous energy thrummed in his veins as he stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his collar. He practiced smiling, but each time he glanced at his reflection, doubts crept in. Would people really accept him at the community center? Would Charlie see him for who he truly wanted to be, not just the man in the expensive suit? Taking a deep breath, he gathered his things. The luxurious car that usually felt like an extension of himself now seemed like a barrier, a line between two worlds. He chose to walk to the center instead, wanting to feel the earth beneath his feet, the pulse of life around him. The streets filled with families preparing for the holidays, laughter bubbling up like sparkling water. As he passed by warm bakeries and bustling shops, Jacob felt a tug in his chest. They were excited about Christmas. He was just excited about sharing. Upon arriving at the community center, he paused outside, heart fluttering. The place was alive, already buzzing with energy. Pushing the door open, he stepped inside. The smell of fresh coffee mingled with the scent of homemade baked goods, wrapping around him like a warm embrace. The sounds of chatter and laughter filled the air, mixing with music that was both festive and inviting. And then he saw her Charlie, sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by a group of children. Her laughter was infectious, her spirit glowing like the lights that twinkled above them. The sight of her grounded him. This was exactly where he needed to be. "Hey, Jacob," she called, her eyes lighting up as she spotted him. She jumped up and ran over, her enthusiasm hitting him like a tidal wave. "I'm so glad you came." "Of course, I wouldn't miss it," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "We're making decorations for the holiday party. Want to help?" she asked, grabbing his arm. Feeling a rush of joy, he nodded. "I'd love that." As they sat down to create colorful ornaments, he felt the past melt away. Here he wasn't a millionaire or an imposter. He was simply Jacob, sharing moments filled with creativity and laughter. Children's giggles surrounded him, each one a reminder of the happiness hidden in ordinary things. Charlie's shoulder brushed against his as they worked, sending tiny sparks of warmth through him. "See?" she said, glancing at him with a playful grin. "It's more fun this way." Her words danced in his mind. More fun. Was that what he'd been missing? In his endless pursuit of success, had he lost touch with enjoyment? "But what are you really planning to do, Jacob? With the donations and everything?" she asked, her voice dropping slightly, sincerity washing over her playful tone. He hesitated, the weight of her question pressing down on him. His intentions swirled in his mind. He had to be honest, right? "I want to help," he said, looking into her sparkling eyes. "Not just with money, but really connect, be part of something meaningful." Charlie smiled, a light appearing behind her eyes. "That's wonderful. We need more people like you here." As they crafted together, Jacob felt something shift inside him. It wasn't just about making a difference, it was about embracing vulnerability, opening his heart to the stories that surrounded him. But as their conversation deepened, the whisper of self-doubt edged back into his mind. Would he really fit in? Would the community accept him with open arms? Or would the shadows of his past loom large, watching and waiting to judge him? As he caught Charlie's gaze again, he wondered just how much courage he'd need to fully embrace this new path. And what if he faltered? The laughter continued, a lull of warmth enveloping the room, but Jacob's heart raced. He was standing on the edge of a transformation, teetering between the life he had and the life that awaited him. What if this was just the beginning? What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: he had to take the leap. As they crafted beads and glitter into beautiful ornaments, Jacob felt the air thick with joy. He glanced around the room, taking in the vibrant chaos, the children squealing with delight, colors splashed on tables, ribbons cascading from little hands. Here he wasn't Jacob the millionaire. He was just Jacob. And somehow, that felt liberating. "Do you think this one's good?" one little girl asked, holding up a lopsided ornament with an earnest expression. "It's perfect," Jacob said, beaming. The truth was, every ornament was a masterpiece in its own way. Each one represented effort, imagination, and sheer delight. "See?" Charlie interjected, nudging him playfully. "You're a natural at this." Her smile warmed him, and he found himself grinning back. The moment struck him this was real connection. There was a magic swirling around them, not unlike the glitter he was trying to control. Yet, as laughter filled the air, Jacob felt a familiar pang of anxiety. It crept in quietly, but it was there, coiling around his thoughts. He had been cast in roles before, and those shadows stalked him still. Would he really belong here? Could a past driven by wealth really be swept away by simple acts of kindness? "Jacob!" Charlie's voice broke through his thoughts. "What's in your heart?" He blinked, taken aback. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you seem distracted. You're here, but not really here. I can tell something's bothering you." Her eyes searched his, filled with concern. It wasn't fair to offload his weight onto her. He wanted to spill everything, his fears, his struggles, the ghosts of his past. But could he burden her with that? In this sanctuary of joy, he hesitated. Jacob took a deep breath, stilling his racing heart. "I used to be someone who only thought about numbers and success. But now, being here doing this makes me realize that there's so much more. I want to give back. I want to make a difference. All that matters is that you're here now." Charlie placed her hand over his, a simple gesture that ignited a surge of warmth. "And you already are making a difference." The sincerity in her tone compelled him. Slowly, belief in this new path began to blossom. This was more than just about giving, it was about connecting, listening, being a part of life. The door swung open, and in walked several families, laughter spilling inside with them. Children darted towards the tables, excitement fluttering like butterflies. Jacob felt a sense of belonging in the waves of sound and spirit that flowed through the room. "Come on, everyone!" Jordan's dad brought cookies. Charlie called out, laughter erupting as kids scrambled to their feet. As Jacob followed, he noticed an elderly woman watching from the side, her tired eyes brightening as she observed the scene. Their gazes met, and she gave him a nod, almost a silent approval. It was as if she sensed the shift within him. "See, Jacob?" encouraged Charlie. "You're making friends already." But just as the joy reached a peak, a mother's voice cut through, shaky and faint. I don't know if I can stick around. Money is tight. I just can't afford everything." Jacob's heart sank. Was this what he was learning to be part of? A community burdened by struggles, where every person carried their own pasts, worries, and shadows. Charlie moved closer to Jacob, whispering, "This is where you can step in, your chance to change a life." He felt the weight of her words. He could help. He could bridge that gap. Could he really be the one to lift her worries, make a difference? As they prepared to dive into the crowd, Jacob's excitement grew, mixed with trepidation. The promise of connection dangled like a shimmering ornament in front of him, and he had everything to gain. Would he brave the depths of his past to embrace the stories surrounding him? His heart raced as he stepped forward. This was more than just one step, it could be the first of many, the start of something profound. But would he find the courage to act before time swept the moment away? The situation was unfolding, and Jacob felt the tension rise. Was he ready to change his life forever? Jacob took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders as he made his way toward the mother whose voice trembled with uncertainty. She looked weary, her eyes shadowed by a burden he could sense without knowing her story. Each step felt heavier than the last, but he fought against the tide of doubt that rose in his chest. "Hey!" he called gently, just loud enough to catch her attention. She turned, surprised, and Jacob could see the flicker of hope mixed with anxiety in her gaze. "Hi," she responded softly, clutching her child's hand tightly. The little boy, presumably holding a homemade ornament, glanced up at her, wide-eyed. "Can I sit with you for a moment?" Jacob asked, gesturing to an empty chair nearby. When she nodded, he sat, feeling strangely like a foreigner in a familiar land. "I overheard you saying something about finances." "I get it, things can be tough, especially this time of year," he said, searching for the right words. "Is there anything I can do to help?" She blinked back tears, taken aback by his offer. "It's just so many things feel out of reach. I wanted to give my son a special Christmas," but her voice trailed off, and the weight of her struggles hung heavily in the air. Without thinking, Jacob reached into the pocket of his jacket and pulled out his wallet. "What if I cover any expenses you're worried about?" He felt vulnerability tingle at the edges of his heart as he continued, "You should enjoy this evening without worry. It's about the joy, right?" Her eyes widened. "You don't have to do that," she protested softly, her voice a mixture of embarrassment and gratitude. "I want to," he replied earnestly. "This isn't charity. It's just connecting with people. You know?" For a moment, silence enveloped them. Then, her child tugged at her sleeve, whispering with cautious hope, "Can we, Mom? Can we stay?" The mother's expression shifted, the fight against her worries evident in her eyes as she looked at Jacob. "If you're really okay with this, then yes." "Thank you," she finally breathed, the hint of a smile breaking through her uncertainty. As Jacob sat with them, sharing laughter and stories, he could feel the strains of his past loosening. Each word exchanged, every smile shared, cultivated a warmth he hadn't expected. The joy radiating from the child filled him up like battery being charged. Who knew a Christmas gathering could lead to such good things? He mused. Charlie appeared at his side, a proud expression on her face. "See? How does it feel to have your heart open like this?" "It feels," Jacob hesitated, weighing how best to articulate the sudden rush of emotions flooding him. "It feels right. I didn't expect this connection. Or the different ways our lives can blend." He glanced back at the mother, who was now laughing at a joke her son made. In this fleeting moment, Jacob understood that perhaps belonging didn't come from riches or status, but from moments of shared humanity, moments of genuine connection created from vulnerability and courage. But then, as the night deepened, and the cheerful noise of the room continued to crescendo, Jacob noticed a familiar face in the corner. His old business partner, Daniel. The man had a reputation for being relentless, a stark reminder of the person he'd tried so hard to leave behind. "Jacob!" Daniel's voice boomed over the group, a mix of surprise and condescension. "What are you doing here? This isn't your scene." Jacob froze, feeling the thrill he'd just experienced slip away. In that one sentence, his past rushed back like a tidal wave, crashing over the joy he'd just begun to embrace. His heart raced, and with it came the fear of how badly he could derail everything he'd just started. Would Daniel pull him back into that world he no longer wanted? He felt Charlie's warm hand squeeze his as if reminding him of the warmth in this room, the real connections he'd just begun to forge. But would he have the strength to stand his ground? As Daniel stepped forward, Jacob stood at a crossroads, caught between two lives, each vying for his heart. Which path would he choose, and what ripple effect would it have on the connections he'd only just begun to build? Daniel's booming voice consumed Jacob's focus, pulling his thoughts into a whirlpool of anxiety. "This isn't your scene," echoed like a haunting refrain in his mind, reminding him of the high-stakes world he thought he'd shaken off. Just when he felt a sense of belonging, here came the specter of his past, looming large and menacing. Jacob took a steadying breath. "It is my scene now," he replied, surprising even himself with the steadiness of his voice. The words felt like a fragile shield, something he could use to defend the warmth he found with the mother and child. Daniel smirked, an eyebrow raised in disbelief. "You can't seriously be enjoying yourself here. This is charity work for you, isn't it?" The laughter and joy behind Jacob felt like a smile he wanted to protect. He could feel Charlie's hand in his, grounding him. "It's not charity. It's about being present, connecting. Something you wouldn't understand." "Connect? With these people?" Daniel gestured dismissively at the crowd, his words laced with contempt. "Simon, don't tell me you're falling for this community spirit nonsense." Jacob's temper flared. Memories of late nights spent working towards goals that meant nothing loomed in his mind. This wasn't what he wanted. It took effort to leave that world behind, and now that he was here, in this moment he refused to let Daniel take it away. He cast a quick glance at the mother, who was watching the exchange with reluctant interest, anxiety creeping back into her features. "Actually, yes," Jacob said. "I am falling for it. Because it's real. It's more real than anything we chased after back then." Daniel scoffed, stepping closer, invading Jacob's space. "You're making a mistake. Leave this place, Jacob. You have no idea what you're missing in the real world." The mother shifted uncomfortably in her chair, and her son clutched his ornament tighter. It made Jacob's resolve harden. He could feel the ripple effects of his choice, not just for himself but for everyone around him. "No, Daniel. You're the one missing it," Jacob countered, his heart pounding. "This could be the best thing that's ever happened to me." As the crowd continued to celebrate around them, whispers and laughter mingled with the familiar tension of Jacob's dilemma. He wasn't just facing Daniel. He was confronting everything Daniel represented: the pressure, the greed, the isolation that came from never being satisfied. "Think about it, Jacob," Daniel urged, a hint of desperation slipping into his tone. "Money, success, these are what matter. You'd be better off back in your corner office, not what?" Jacob interrupted, his voice rising. "Not sitting with people who matter? Who have hearts?" He glanced again at the boy who had just looked up expectantly, uncertain of the confrontation occurring in front of him. "You think I'm wasting my time here?" "I'm seeing joy, Daniel. Something I thought I'd lost." The silence that followed was palpable. Daniel's face twisted with uncertainty, a mixture of anger and disbelief. For a fleeting moment, Jacob thought he saw a flicker of understanding cross Daniel's eyes, as if he realized how far removed he had become from genuine happiness. But then, quickly, the mask returned. "You're making a mistake, Jacob." "A big one," he warned, voice lower yet more intense. Ignoring the warning, Jacob turned slightly away, shifting his attention back to the warmth of the gathering, where he had found laughter and connection. "You can choose not to see what's in front of you, Daniel, but I won't let you take this away from me," he said softly, determination solidifying in his chest. Jacob Charlie's voice, gentle yet firm, came from beside him. "Remember, this choice is yours. Don't let anyone else dictate the life you want." With a final glance at Daniel, Jacob seized that moment of truth. The echoes of laughter, cheer, and hope swirled around him, grounding him in the present, tightening the bond he felt with those around him. Suddenly he understood, this moment mattered more than anything Daniel had promised or achieved. Taking a deep breath, he felt the shift inside him, a profound awakening of self-worth that transcended all ties. But within that moment of clarity, something new began to stir. Behind Daniel, a shadow flickered. Another figure in the doorway emerged, someone he hadn't seen in years. Someone who could change everything. What did they want? And how would it alter the fragile yet beautiful life he'd begun to piece together? The crowd dimmed in Jacob's vision as he turned, his heart racing. The figure stepping into the warm glow of the party lights felt both familiar and foreign. It was Eleanor, his childhood friend, the one he'd lost touch with during the chaotic years that followed his rise in the corporate world. She stood there, hesitation flickering in her eyes as if she too grappled with the weight of memories looming over them. "Eleanor?" Jacob finally croaked, his voice barely above a whisper. Was this a dream? A mirage conjured by guilt and nostalgia? She nodded slowly. A delicate smile crept onto her face, one filled with understanding, but tinged with something deeper, perhaps sadness. "I didn't know you would be here." Jacob took a step forward, brushing past Daniel, who looked even more baffled. "What are you doing here?" The words tumbled out before he could catch them. "I mean, it's been so long." "That's putting it mildly," Eleanor replied, her voice laced with warmth yet edged with something frail. "I've been trying to connect with the community again, find my way back to what really matters. I didn't expect to see you, not like this." He felt a rush of memories flood his mind, the laughter shared over milkshakes after school, the dreams they spun beneath starry skies, and the shimmering hopes of youth that felt so incredibly attainable back then. Spending his days at the office felt like a world away from the warmth and laughter that filled this room. "Eleanor," he began, but she raised her hand. "Jacob, please. I'm sorry for dropping off the grid. Life just, you know how it gets." She glanced toward the mother and son, who were still watching, their curiosity piqued. "But I see you've found something. A place here that feels right." Jacob smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes at first. "I'm trying. Daniel, he doesn't get it. Nobody does. I've been chasing the wrong things." Eleanor's gaze searched his, and in that moment, they connected again through the veils of lost time. "The world you chased worried only about what you can get. This," she gestured toward the celebration, "is about what you can give. It's real." "I thought I'd lost you," Jacob confessed, feeling a tightening in his throat. "But you haven't," she replied softly. "You've found yourself again, haven't you?" His heart swelled as he saw not just Eleanor but the room, the laughter, the joy, all the connections he had started to instinctively cherish. "I'm trying to redefine everything to find joy. I want more than what I had." "Then hold on to it," she said, her voice firm yet soothing. "You have a chance to create something beautiful here. A chance to rewrite your story." Daniel's cleared throat pulled Jacob's attention back. "Are you two done?" He scowled, arms crossed. "Because this isn't some fairy tale, Jacob. What about your future? Your career? You're throwing it all away." Jacob felt an unfamiliar strength rise within him. "No, Daniel. I'm building something more important than a career. I'm rediscovering life." He turned back to Eleanor, who was smiling encouragingly, her presence pushing away his doubts. "I need to do this for me. And for what truly matters." Before he could say more, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses broke through the tension again. The celebration carried on, vibrant and full of life, infusing Jacob with renewed hope. It was true, he had something here worth fighting for. But there was a nagging feeling that lingered, something he couldn't quite shake off. As he spoke with Eleanor, their past was weaving back into a present he had thought he wanted to escape. What did that mean for him now? He glanced back at Daniel, who wore an incredulous expression, and then returned to Eleanor, feeling the warmth of a connection rekindled. But just as he began to embrace this moment of joy, the door creaked open again, letting in a biting gust of winter air, and in strode another figure, one that sent cold dread flooding through him. Who else from his past was coming to upend the fragile peace he had begun to build? And what new realities would they bring into his life? The moment froze as the figure stepped into the light, casting an unexpected shadow that loomed large over Jacob's heart. She moved with a confidence that was both attractive and intimidating. There was something eerily familiar about her, a haunting resemblance that tugged at the edges of Jacob's memory. Diana, he breathed, the name slipping out against his will. His stomach twisted. The woman who had once meant everything to him was now an unanswered chapter in his life. She had been part of the glossy world of corporate success he inhabited, but the suffocating ambition they had shared had ultimately been more of a curse than a blessing. Diana's eyes widened for a brief moment as she made eye contact with him, a flicker of surprise followed by a masquerade of composed recognition. "Jacob. Fancy meeting you here," she said, her voice smooth but layered with a tension Jacob could hardly ignore. "What are you doing here?" He could already feel the unease radiating around them, the atmosphere shifting as the people near them began to murmur among themselves. "Oh, you know. Just taking advantage of the holiday spirit. I hear you've made a few waves in this little town." Her smile was charming, but Jacob sensed the sharpness behind it. He could almost hear the undertones of their shared past echoing between them. Eleanor's hand timidly touched his arm, anchoring him in this swirl of uncertainty. Jacob couldn't help but steal a glance at her, feeling that flicker of connection reignite amidst the chaos. There was something about her presence that offered solace, a warmth he hadn't felt with Diana for years. "Are you still following your dreams of running the world?" Diana continued, her tone mocking yet playful, each word curling around him like smoke from a long-extinguished fire. Jacob's heart raced, and he steadied himself. "Dreams change. What about you? Still collecting accolades?" Her laughter was light but held a harsh edge. "A girl's gotta do what a girl's gotta do, right?" Eleanor stepped in, her voice calm but firm. "Jacob has changed. He has found something more meaningful." Diana turned to Eleanor, dismissing her with a wave. "Well, life is about success, isn't it? What you should do and how high you climb. Otherwise, you're just here." She gestured wildly around the celebration. "Maybe climbing isn't all there is," Eleanor replied, her voice steady. "Maybe simple joys are worth more than soaring to the top alone." For a split second, Jacob saw a glimmer of vulnerability in Diana's eyes, a crack in her polished exterior. But it was gone as quickly as it came, replaced by defiance. "As if you can feed your family with good vibes and heart-to-hearts." Eleanor's face fell in disbelief, and Jacob felt anger bubbling within him. "Diana, this isn't just about money. Life means so much more than what you can gain." In that moment, the crowd drifted back to their festivities, but Jacob remained focused on her, the cold air of her words pressing heavily on his chest. He wanted to shake off her influence, recreate the image of happiness he had started to sketch with Eleanor, and grasp onto those philosophies about life that made it rich and full. But the old connections refused to fade easily. Jacob faced Diana again, feeling stronger. "I'm not the man you walked away from. I'm finding myself, and what truly matters. If that means losing the corporate race, then so be it." Diana raised an eyebrow, her expression shifting from defiance to intrigue. "You really think you can turn your back on everything we built?" The tension thickened between them like a storm cloud, the room vibrating with anticipation. Jacob felt the thrill of his own past igniting old regrets and dreams colliding with new realities. How would he reconcile what had come before with the man he wanted to become? As the laughter faded around them, he realized the evening was shifting again, pushing him toward yet another crossing in his life. Just as he stepped deeper into this confrontation, a loud crash rang out from the back of the room. Glass shattered, cutting through the air like a warning bell. What catastrophe awaited him now, and would he be able to defend the new life he was trying to create? The sound of shattering glass echoed, bringing the festivities to a sharp halt. Jacob instinctively turned toward the source of the noise, the chatter around him falling silent. A group of partygoers had gathered around a fallen table, their eyes wide with shock. The vibrant energy of the celebration quickly morphed into a tense atmosphere, one fraught with uncertainty. Diana's expression shifted, her earlier bravado dimmed. She took a step back, her confidence shattered like the glass. Jacob felt a jolt in his chest. It was as if the accident had cracked open something deeper. He saw the fear flickering in her eyes, a reminder that even the most poised could be rattled. "Stay here," Jacob told Eleanor quietly, though she gave him a wary look. He pushed his way through the crowd, a mixture of concern and something else driving him. Despite their past, despite the bitterness that lingered between him and Diana, he couldn't just walk away as chaos erupted. As he reached the scene, he caught sight of the person who had fallen. A young woman was sprawled on the ground, her face pale and twisted in pain. The concern from the crowd shifted to frantic whispers as someone called an ambulance. Jacob knelt beside her, moving cautiously. "Hey, can you hear me?" he asked softly, trying to hold her gaze. But her eyes fluttered closed, tears pooling as she gasped. He could feel the panic radiating from the gathering crowd, the pressure weighing down on him. "Someone get a paramedic!" he shouted, a sense of urgency coursing through him. Seconds stretched into hours as he held her hand, feeling her pulse racing beneath his fingertips. She looked so young, her dreams no doubt waiting just beyond this moment. There was something familiar in her despair, something that tugged at Jacob's heart. It reminded him of his own past failures, the moments that had nearly broken him. And just like that, the tension shifted again. Diana emerged beside him, her icy demeanor replaced with concern. "What can I do?" she asked hesitantly, her voice softer now. Jacob glanced at her, surprised by the change. Perhaps, beneath her ambition-driven exterior, there was still humanity. "Help me keep her calm. Talk to her, distract her, anything." Diana knelt, their shoulders brushing as she leaned closer to the injured woman. "Hey there," she cooed, her voice soothing. "You're going to be okay. Just breathe. Help is on the way." Jacob felt a rush of admiration. Maybe there was more to Diana than he'd realized. They worked in tandem, easing the girl's anxiety, and in that moment, the lines between their past and the present blurred. In an unexpected twist, Jacob found hope in the way they came alive in the face of crisis. But that hope was overshadowed by lingering resentment, and the ghosts of what had come before. The ambulance arrived, and paramedics quickly took over, taking the girl away on a stretcher. Jacob stood, the crowd slowly dispersing, but the air around him felt thick with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Diana turned to him, her eyes searching. "You're not the same, Jacob." "I see it," she said, catching him off guard. "You've changed. Maybe I need to, too." A flicker of something, was it vulnerability or determination? Passed between them. Jacob opened his mouth to respond, but nothing came out. The world felt like it was tilting on its axis. "Let us talk," he finally said. "Not here. After all of this, we need to clear the air." She nodded, and he felt a pang of something deep down, a mixture of apprehension and anticipation. What would this conversation reveal? As the party resumed, with laughter and chatter returning slowly, Jacob's heart raced at the thought of reconnecting with someone who had once seemed untouchable. Would they find common ground, or would old wounds reopen in ways either of them expected? With the echoes of laughter filling the night, he realized one thing for sure: the real challenge was only just beginning. As laughter and chatter swirled around him, Jacob felt the collective energy of the celebration shift into something different. It was joyful yet tethered to the unresolved tension of his encounter with Diana. He glanced around the room, taking in the decorations, the families enjoying their moment, and the children laughing with abandon. Everything seemed brighter, more vibrant, and yet something vital still hung in the air: uncertainty. With a purposeful stride, he approached Eleanor, who stood near the snack table, a plate of cookies clutched in her hands. Her eyes widened as she saw Jacob's expression. "Are you okay?" she asked softly, her concern palpable. "Yeah, I'm good," he replied, though it felt like a half-truth. "I think I need to talk to Diana. There are things we need to settle between us." The words released like a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Eleanor studied him for a moment, her brow furrowing. "You sure that's what you want?" "She is not the person you remember." "I know," Jacob said, gazing toward Diana, who stood with a small group, her laughter now ringing hollow. It felt obvious that beneath her poise she was still wrestling with the world they'd both left behind. A flicker of recognition passed between them when their eyes met. A question and unspoken acknowledgement hung heavily in the air. "Just be careful," Eleanor cautioned, a hint of concern lacing her voice. "You've come so far. Don't let anyone pull you back." With that, Jacob turned and made his way to where Diana stood, each step resonating with a blend of hope and apprehension. Despite their past, despite the bitter memories, this moment felt necessary. He needed closure not just for himself but perhaps for her too. "Diana," he said, initiating their conversation as soon as he reached her. The light around them dimmed as the noise faded into the background, focusing everything upon this single point. "Can we talk?" She looked taken aback for a moment, then motioned toward a quieter spot away from the growing crowd. "All right," she said, leading him toward a corner where the chatter became muffled. "Look," Jacob began, feeling somewhat awkward yet determined, "I didn't expect to run into you tonight. It's been years." Diana glanced down, a mix of remorse and defensiveness flashing across her features. "I know. I've seen the changes you've made going from what we were in the business world to now. You seem different." "That's the goal," he replied, meeting her gaze head-on. "I remember everything with you as deeply embedded in my past, but I was so focused on climbing that ladder that I lost myself along the way. I thought that was success." "What changed?" she asked, genuinely curious, her posture softening as the walls around her seemed to lower. "It started when I met a little girl at a community center," Jacob replied, the warmth from the memories pooling in his heart. "Her name is Charlie. She opened my eyes to what really matters: community, kindness, and giving back. It made me redefine success and realize that it's actually about connection." Diana's eyes glimmered with surprise. "Wow, that sounds really beautiful," she said quietly. He hadn't expected that. A flicker of understanding almost broke through their past. "But I need you to know that what we had, it drove me then, but it doesn't fit who I'm becoming now," he continued, trying to be honest without harshness. "I'm not sure we can go back to what we were." "I understand," she replied slowly, processing his words as they hung between them. "I think I've lost touch with that part of me too." For a moment, an uncomfortable silence stretched out this fragile honesty, balancing precariously above their history. "It's just after we parted ways, I felt empty. I drained myself trying to achieve more without really knowing why," Diana confessed, her voice a mere whisper. "Maybe I needed to lose everything to see what truly mattered." "You weren't alone in that," Jacob said gently. "We were both lost in a way." As they stood there, sharing vulnerabilities in a space that felt welcoming yet hollow, the room around them seemed to glow. Brighter, filled with laughter and camaraderie. Perhaps the choices they made had reflected on each other longer than they realized. "I want to change," Diana offered finally, her voice steadying. "Just don't expect me to morph into what you've become overnight. I need time." "Good," Jacob answered with a nod, feeling the weight of those words begin to lift from his chest. "That's all I'm asking for. Just time. I'm here now, and I want us both to find better paths." Their eyes met again, neither perfectly reconciled with their past nor completely freed from its grip, but both willing to try and find a way forward. Perhaps they could be allies in navigating their new realities, no longer bound by ambition but connected by the humanity they had, at times, forgotten. With tentative smiles, they stepped back into the thrumming energy of the party, two people seeking not just individual paths but a shared understanding of life beyond the surface. The warmth of the room enveloped them and filled their hearts with the hope that perhaps, with every connection they built, they could craft the most beautiful decorations of all, a sense of belonging. As laughter echoed and people danced, Jacob realized he wasn't just crafting a new life for himself, he was part of something more significant, weaving the stories of the past into a vibrant tapestry of the future. He turned to see Charlie amidst the festivities, her laughter resonating like chimes, reminding him of the simple joy he'd found. Without a doubt, he knew he would continue to invest in his new community, embracing connections that truly mattered, revealing layers of compassion and kindness that could change the world around him one smiling face at a time. As the night lingered on, he allowed hope to envelop him, finally seeing that this was just the beginning of a journey richer than any he'd known before. Another chance to embrace vulnerability, gratitude, and connection for a lifetime of meaningful moments. This was what life could offer. At that very moment of realization, he turned his gaze back to Eleanor, who watched him with a knowing smile, a symbol of newfound beginnings. This time, Jacob felt solid ground under his feet. It's never too late to start again. And with that thought, he stepped forward into the possibilities waiting beyond the veil of comfort. Turning to all the faces around him, he smiled, feeling the urgency building in his heart to embrace all that life offered. Because now, more than ever, he would be present. And the sweet melody of life sang anew, calling him toward a bright horizon. This is the moment. The world is waiting. Please, if you've loved this journey, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Thank you for being a true fan.